Good morning. Welcome to our Talks with Anthony. Today we're going to have an insightful conversation. If you're new to the channel, we make mental health conversations and content that's going to be able to benefit your personal development in addition to your well-being, right? But in today's conversation, we're going to be talking about understanding and overcoming implicit bias and how recognizing and addressing unconscious prejudice. You know what I mean? So when you're having these thoughts of this ignorance, negative thoughts, that could be, affecting other people. We're really going to dive into what this is and how it affects our daily life, and different strategies for overcoming the bias and creating a more inclusive and just society. And just like I said, having more awareness of our behaviors, our actions, our thoughts, and how it also, like I said, affects other people and even our daily life. So let's dive into what implicit bias is. So basically, what implicit bias is implicit bias refers to the unconscious attitudes or stereotypes we hold that affect our decisions and behaviors without recognizing it. These biases are often automatic and influence how we perceive others based on things like race, gender, and social economic status, right? So there's a sense of judgment, there's a sense of unfairness, and the sense of just rudeness and the negativity that we need to be able to dive into, and this is really what implicit bias is, right? So studies show that implicit bias affects everyone regardless of the background. Regardless of where you're coming from, cultural background, whether you pink, purple, blue, black, it doesn't matter. We all have implicit bias, and we need to be able to take into consideration of how it's affecting us and how it also affects others just by our negligence, right? So when it comes to the implicit association test, the IAT, it helps measure these implicit bias and reveals how deeply ingrained they could be. And even people who are consciously reject stereotypes, this test is able to really administer that discovery. So I just want to put that out there in regards to what implicit bias is and how you're able to measure it. And like I said, this affects everybody regardless of what background that you're coming from. So let's move into the next segment in regards to how implicit bias impacts our decisions. Like I said, there's many thoughts that storm through our mind, our brain's constantly working, and I really want us to take into consideration how this impacts our decisions, right? So implicit bias can show up in different settings such as the hiring process, healthcare, criminal justice, let's just hang on to the workplace environment, because I really want to take in consideration for us to be able to take care of our family, eat, survive. We gotta get out there and get that money, right? So the hiring process is really important. So in hiring, studies show that job applicants with the economic sounding names are 50% less likely to be invited to interviews, even when their qualifications are identical to those of applicants with white sounding names. This highlights how implicit bias in hiring practices can lead to unequal opportunities and contribute to workforce diversity gaps. So like I said, there's a sense of discrimination that is affecting people from getting opportunities. Like I said, this is a big thing, which is major, because people need to be able to work to take care of themselves, take care of their family, and pay them bills, right? And this is serious because, like I said, they can have the right qualifications just based off these discrimination and this bias. It's keeping people limited. So there's a barrier that is keeping people from getting to where they want to be, right? A next area I want to be able to talk about outside of the working environment is the healthcare, right? When we get sick, where do we go? We need someone that's going to be able to give us the proper service, which is important. So let's take in consideration in healthcare. So minority patients are often given less pain management than white patients. A disparity tied to implicit bias in medical decision making. This can result in worse health outcomes for minority patients, as their pain may be undertreated or ignored, contributing to health inequities, right? So this is affecting the Black, Latino, and Indigenous people, but I really want us to take in consideration, like I said, like when we get sick, when we need to get evaluated, we need to, have someone support us. This is major because we all need to be able to take in consideration that we all should be treated fairly. And I want to be able to highlight this because, like I said, this is affecting people from getting treatment and full service and just that equal presentation of what things should really be. So we all say that we want things to be this certain way, but I really want us to take in consideration. Let's make some proactive steps to make sure that things are improving rather than just leaving things the way that they are. So I want us to take in consideration. So I'm giving you guys some insight of, what's really going on, right? So overall, when it comes to the impact, these implicit bias, even if they're intentional or unconscious, play a significant role in reinforcing societal inequities. So in both employment and in healthcare, these effects can be widely spread, influencing opportunities, like I mentioned before, for individuals, well-being, and long-term outcomes for minority groups, often without being readily noticed or addressed. So like I said, we don't want to keep things under the rug. We don't want to be passive aggressive. We don't want to be that person that's just sitting in the waiting room, ain't saying nothing. We need to be having this awareness, and we need to be advocating and speaking up, because this is affecting someone's well-being, opportunities, and the proper service that they need and they deserve, right? So some things I just want to highlight in regards to implicit bias and why it's important is, number one, promotes fairness. We want to make sure that we get equal opportunities. Everybody deserves equal opportunities, regardless of what background that you're coming from. Next is improves outcomes. So by having these discussions, we want to be able to improve better healthcare and outcomes for people, careers, right? For all groups. Next is going to be fosters inclusivity. So we want to make sure that all people feel safe, feel heard, and this creates a conducive environment for all people, and then reduces inequities. So by having these conversations, bias contributes to systemic inequities. So addressing this topic can help us strengthen gray areas that need to be evaluated. And this brings that rise of that awareness. And like I mentioned earlier, is that long-term societal impact. We're trying to not just change ourselves, but make that impact so we have society that is able to respect people, treat people like they want to be treated, and just having that overall awareness. Because like I said, sometimes these thoughts may be unconscious, but they definitely are being impacted. But like I said, as within your life, in addition to these systems as they play, like we talked about, healthcare, workplace, etc. Right? So it's very important, and I really wanted to highlight some of those aspects because we want to make our lives a better place. We want to make the world a better place as well, right? Next segment I want to talk with you guys about is how to recognize it in your own life, right? So recognizing implicit bias, right? So where can we start? It starts by, number one, is that self-awareness. We got to really know what's going on, being in tune with your thoughts. Like I mentioned all the time, is trying to journal, write down, and have that awareness of what you're feeling, what you're seeing, and these different emotions that are storming through your mind. And as mentioned earlier, is a great tool to be able to take in consideration specifically for implicit bias is the implicit association test, the IAT, which is developed by Harvard researchers to be able to uncover things that you may not be aware of, right? So a tip is mindfulness, right? So really just asking yourself proactive questions, and like I said, doing that journaling. But a question that you can take in consideration is, why did I react this way? Did I make assumptions based off an appearance or background, right? So really taking consideration, why are you thinking this way? Or why is this ignorance? Or why is these thoughts coming through your mind? And like I said, it could be unconscious, like it's coming its way and you didn't really think it like that, or this could be something that stemmed from you really pushing those thoughts out. So I really want us to be really conscientious in having that awareness. Being honest with yourself is key to breaking free from automatic unconscious reactions. So really, just like I said, just starting there. So like I said, the awareness is really big. Let's move on to strategies for addressing and overcoming implicit bias, which is major. So strategy number one is you really want to educate yourself, right? So start by learning about implicit bias. As we're talking right now, we're really getting that discovery. But you really want to dive into your personal life. So with the roots of it, where's it coming from? Its effects, its role in society, how is it really affecting other people? What are things that you're seeing, like I said, in different systems? And what you could do to, improve. How can you get better from this circumstance? There's more than what you know, and by getting more information and learning things, it's going to help you be more compassionate, and also at the same time to navigate better, right? Next strategy is going to be practice mindful decision making. So you really want to slow down, ask yourself, am I judging somebody based on assumptions? And ask yourself this too, is this the way that you want to be treated? Imagine it, put yourself in that nurse's shoes, you know what I mean? For instance, and you're treating some people good on this end, but then you go into a different room and you're treating other people poor in that end. Is that the way you want to be treated if you were in that second room? Let's take that into consideration. So really just try to ask yourself proactive questions and really get realigned within yourself about decision making, right? So how did you treat this person? How could you treat this person, right? Is this the proactive way that you really want to treat community members, right? So like I said, practice mindful decision making. When it comes to research, a study shows that mindfulness and bias reduction exercises can significantly reduce implicit bias over time, right? So this is something I want to take into consideration because good things take time, change takes time, and by being aware is going to help you improve. So I want you guys to take that into consideration. The next strategy is going to be increase exposure to diversity. Get yourself out there. You're not going to be able to change your ways or change these patterns if you're not getting that awareness and you're not kind of connecting with different people. So I really want you to increase exposure to diversity. Engage with diverse groups of people. Exposure to new cultures and perspectives helps challenge stereotypes and build empathy, right? So by communicating with different other people, understanding what they got going on, taking yourself outside your shoes, empathy is really going to be a crucial thing because it's really going to have you understand what is really going on out there. You know what I mean? And when you're really breaking down the ignorance and breaking down the implicit bias and these thoughts and these judgments and these assumptions, you're really going to understand like the truth behind the scenery. So I really want us to take in consideration by increasing exposure to diversity and understanding other people, right? The next strategy is going to be hold yourself accountable, right? If you're in a position of power, whether you're a leader or a healthcare provider, commit to the fairness and be accountable. Accountability is a really big thing. I don't want us to sit there and say, okay, we're on to the next, and yeah, I heard you. I really want us to really take in consideration of what did we do, look at what we did, how this is impacting other people, how this is impacting our lives, and then try to figure out ways to improve, right? So when it comes to research in regards to holding yourself accountable, research shows that diverse teams and inclusive organizations are more innovative and productive, right? So when you have inclusive, it's just right? It's beneficial for all people. So it's major that we are being open, we're being optimistic, we're being kind, we're being positive, and this will allow us to have a safe space where people could feel free, people could feel respected. And I really want us to take that in consideration, specifically as we're working with diverse groups. The next section I want to be able to talk with you guys is creating a more inclusive environment, which is big because this is going to help us break our patterns, get us outside our patterns, our ways, right? So overcoming implicit bias isn't just about personal growth, it's about creating a more inclusive environment for everybody. We can't always just focus about ourselves. We can't always just be in our ways. We have to really think about sometimes the people around us and how we're impacting other people. So as individuals, we can help by promoting inclusive spaces, whether it's in the workplace, schools, or even social circles. When it comes to research, a study found that organizations that prioritize diversity, equity, and inclusion, as I always push, report greater employment satisfaction and productivity, right? So when you feel like this is the right space, you feel safe, you feel respected, and you have that diversity and the love is there, people really feel as if that they can really be proactive and get the work done, and it's a more happy setting, right? So it's clear that when you're creating a diverse spot and inclusive environments, it's not only going to be beneficial to individuals and even yourself, but like I said, everybody, and this leads to a more stronger and more equitable community, right? So I really want us to take into consideration before I end off this video is thinking before we react. And as what's broken down from the strategy is really holding ourselves accountable, which is really big. How can we really make change or make improvement if we're not going to be able to take that major step? So change takes time. But the biggest thing I want us to take into consideration is if you have nothing nice to say, you know what I mean? Keep it quiet, keep it to yourself, and be respectful, because I really want us to take into consideration, it may be a joke to you, or you may have seen something on a movie or social media or whatever it may be, but it could really be impacting other people and other communities and other groups. And for us, I really want us to take into consideration that let's push for the peace, let's push for the happiness, let's push for something that's going to be beneficial for all, than to have us be tearing people down. So by developing this video, it's going to help us be more mindful and develop a more inclusive environment for all people. But hopefully you guys took some information from this video. If you liked it, throw a thumbs up so it can push for algorithms so other people can see it and improve their well-being and their personal development. So stay tuned in for more intentional content. Thank you for having me. See you on the next one.